Welcome back to Comic Book History, episode 42. Yeah, it's been a few months since I did one of the X-Men, at least, 3 months. Now, I did promise last episode that I would discuss Tim Drake. Here we go. Tim Drake, who's got 4 people credited for creating guy. Oh yes, that's no joke about that. Okay, mostly just Marv Wolfman and Pat Broderick. Yeah, that's quite interesting. Yeah, also apparently, from what I can read, basically that, well, apparently George Perez basically has also got credit here someplace. And, well, even though most of the time, when people think of Tim Drake as, well, Robin, of course, what's the one writer commonly associated with this character? Chuck Dixon. Oh, yes, Chuck Dixon. First appearing in the very mixedly received Batman Year 3 storyline. Which, fun fact about this storyline, when it comes to this particular character. Yep. Well, in the case of the storyline itself, for a long time, this was the only one of the three, one of the the year things where it wasn't put in the trade. Which were like, really? It wasn't? Batman Year 1's in trade, and that was kept canon for many years. Though it's semi-canon right now, Year 2 is canon, despite the fact that doesn't seem not canon. Year 3 was not collected in trade. Long time, this was actually not put in the trade. As far as I can tell, there's been no explained reason for this at all. Not really, no. Well, it was collecting the second volume for Batman the Cape Crusader. Yep. But the interesting thing is, this storyline came not long after. I think it was about 7 issues after the death of Jason. It was like 8 issues after the death of Jason Todd. Yeah. So, he was a kindergartner, and then not long after this, he appeared in The Lonely Place of Dying, a very good mini crossover between Batman and New Titans. For Batman, it took up issues 439 to 431, and it took up 2 issues of New Titans. Yes, 2 issues. Which, the whole point of the storyline was basically Tim Drake basically finding out that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Yeah, apparently a lot of the time, basically Gotham City, this is typical still today, where they're so oblivious to the fact that Bruce Wayne is Batman. I mean, he easily figured it out, so he tracked down Batman. So he wanted to become New Rob because, well, Batman had been going a little crazy since the death of Jason Todd. Though, a little fun thing about the death of Jason Todd, I don't know if this is true or not. I think that Jim Starlin took inspiration from the critically acclaimed Dark Knight Returns, when it was mentioned that Jason Todd would die at the hand of Joker, so he decided to have him die at the hands of the Joker in Death of the Family. So, in the storyline Lonely Place of Dying, Tim Drake becomes Robin for the first time. Though not officially, of course. He ends up saving Batman from Two-Face, though he ends up also running into Dick Grayson, who at this point was Nightwing. Yes, though at the time he was wearing his first costume as Nightwing. Yeah, believe it or not, do you know how many costumes Dick Grayson has gone through as Nightwing? Officially, he's gone through 5. No joke, 5. First is the classic George Perez costume that people tend to associate with. There is a second one he introduced in the early 90s, and then there's the one that he had for a long time, from about 1996 to 2009, that particular costume, the one where he's like full bodysuit with the blue bird, he had that for a long time, and then of course he switched over to basically the red costume for New 52, and he's back to the blue now, that was a bit updated now. Tim Drake, on the other hand, when he first showed up as Robin, like in the case of Jason Todd, he wore the same costume as Robin. Though later on, he did in fact develop his own individual costume. And here's something interesting though about the costume. The costume Tim Drake wore when he became Robin officially, this is after he fought the frickin' Scarecrow, believe it or not, where he basically, the costume he wore was, believe it or not, the same costume Dick Grayson wore on the 2003 Teen Titans TV show. Yes, this green short sleeve shirt have pouch on it. Basically, it also was the first one to have pants, though it didn't have the metal boot around it, but mostly that was the outfit that he wore. He wore this outfit for a long time, from about pretty much the early 90s up until around 2006. He wore this costume for a long time. Well, that was until about 2006, where he jumped in 1 year later, where he basically wore the outfit he actually wore, believe it or not, on New Batman Adventures. Yeah, he wore that particular costume in comic book form. Though that one actually had long sleeves. Yes, it actually had long sleeves. And for some reason, when they adapted Death in the Family, they put Jason Todd in this costume. Despite the fact this was not the costume he was wearing at that point. Though in the current continuity, that was technically in the way Tim Drake's first costume. Eventually, for Tim Drake, after appearing as a recurring character in both Batman Detective, he eventually got his own solo book. Yep, he got his own solo book. Well, basically it was a series of 3 miniseries, all written by Chuck Dixon, and eventually DC finally got attention basically for this. Like, after these three series were probably financially successful, they're like, okay, run an ongoing series that lasted for 183 issues for basically a character who first made appearance in the pages of in the case of a Batman comic book and got their own spin-off book. He probably had by far one of the longest running spin-off books of recent memory. I wasn't reading at that point, though at the time when I jumped into DC Comics, this comic was not being published at that point. It was a replacement comic, Red Robin. Now, the book itself, believe it or not, only went through about a few different writers in 103 issues, which you probably like, really? It did? Yeah, it did. First was Chuck Dixon for the first 100 issues. Now, I have heard the reason why he left. Because he got over CrossGen. And then he got replaced for about 20 issues, which I will discuss basically what picked up for these issues. And then it was Bill Willingham. Yes, Bill Willingham took over the writing for these issues. Though I was not really a big fan of the artwork. Oh my gosh, this artwork was so atrociously bad half the time. And then eventually Chuck Dixon briefly came back. Though I have heard that he told me the reason why his second run ended was not because he got offered another company. No, he got fired from the book. Yeah, that's the reason why he left. Because he got fired. And then, of course, produced by Fabian Nicieza, who was the final writer of the book. And it was pretty much one of the two writers for the replacement comic book, Red Robin, along with Chris Yost, and the New 52 happened. But during this period of time, basically Tim Drake had his own supporting cast, his own father, his stepmother, his partner, and of course girlfriend, Stephanie Brown, the daughter of C-list Batman villain Cluemaster. Yep. Which, this character was around for a long period of time. I'll discuss more about her later, but here's the thing about this character. The reason why she became a supporting character in the pages of Robin was because she had a big humongous fan base. Chuck Dixon was actually pretty surprised about this. And then, of course, during the controversial War Games event, which Bill Willingham and Edward Baker wrote, good majority of this particular crossover, it was basically these two guys. During the event, Stephanie was murdered by Black Mask. Yep. Though it was later retconned that she actually survived. Yeah, there was a reason why the retcon. Because Chuck Dixon hated the fact that killed off this popular character. Well, because he created her. Though later she did reunite with Tim Drake. Though Tim Drake himself basically will do some weird stuff. Like, if you read the first 100 issues of Robin by Chuck Dixon, it is a really good run. Though toward the end of the run, basically Chuck Dixon kills off the character King Cobra in issue 91. Which was basically in the way, the 10th to last issue of his original run. And he also wrote the annuals as well. Though he did tell me that there was one crossover he did not like writing for. Like, he liked Nightfall, and his favorite crossover aside from Nightfall was Legacy. The one crossover he did not like was Blood Ties. He absolutely hated that crossover. Because almost every old new character had the same exact backstory with the whole alien stuff. He despised his crossover. All the rest of them, as far as I can tell, he didn't say anything bad about them, but he hated Blood Ties. And he had one of the annuals tie into it. I think it was annual 2 or 3. And heck, the book even had tie into Zero. Yep. When the book first started, it was simply put when it became ongoing, it was part of the critically acclaimed Batman Nightfall, which I own a small majority. I own pretty much the whole crossover. And over the years, Robin has always been part of every single Batman crossover to date. It was part of Legacy, Contagion, No Man's Land, pretty much as long as that comic book was being published, it was part of every single major Batman crossover ever happening in the Batman books. Anyone you can think of, it generally was part of throughout its entire run. Yep. Now, toward the end of the book, he did, in fact, and his partnership, the Tim Drake character, his partnership with Stephanie, but there was no couple. He became Red Robin, though he would later alter it, though he would also team up with her in a part of a crossover, which became Batgirl. Though she referred to his costume as simply put a ripoff of Dr. Midnight's costume. Which I'm like, really? Yeah, really. Though I should point out though, Adam Beecham was one of the writers, and there was a particular story called Wanted, where in the storyline, Cassandra Cain, who was the second official Batgirl, though that DC does not count the couple Batgirls before Barbara Gordon because they was considered her the original one because she's the most popular one. Cassandra Cain was considered to be basically the essential Batgirl of the 2000s, while at the start of the previous decade, in a way, toward the end of the previous decade, the start of the previous one, where it was basically Stephen Brown, then it became Barbara Gordon again. Basically, they turn in the pages of Robin, they turn Cassandra Cain evil for no reason. Yeah, I've never really heard the reasoning for this at all. Maybe just drive ownership. Though it was later revealed in the pages of Teen Titans that this was actually a lie. She actually became not her own volition. She became evil because she was on drugs by Deathstroke. Oh yeah, it was also implied she killed her father too. Yeah, it's kind of weird. And once eventually, and after the events of Batman Battle for the Cowl, which was a really good crossover, I highly recommend checking it out. Burton John by Tony S. Daniel. Then eventually, Robin became Red Robin. Well, there was a reason for that. That was because Tim Drake basically lost the mantle to Damian, who, up until recently, was in fact the current Robin. Though it was the second time he lost the head of Robin. Because the first time he lost, it was actually after the first story arc of Bill Willingham's run. Yes, for some reason, I'm not really sure why this was. Because in the story arc, basically, there was an article about to come out in the book, basically, that was going to out Tim Drake as Robin. And Tim Drake told his father about what he was doing and the fact he is Robin. And he apparently decided to temporarily retire as Robin. Yeah, he temporarily retired. And so, he was briefly replaced in book by Stephanie Brown. For about 3 months. And then she got fired as Robin. Yep, she got fired. The whole storyline was called War Drums, basically labeled to War Games. Which was an interesting storyline. I even to this day, even a couple times, I thought the storyline was quite interesting. And the storyline itself has been collected a couple times. First in the original three-volume trade paperback, Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, and eventually they recollected in a new printing. This time in 2 books, where the first volume collected War Drums and the first 2 volumes of War Games. The second volume collected Volume 3, War Crimes, and even collected Batman 42, which never collected before, which kudos for DC for doing it. Then also there was one issue that DC collected for Robin. It was issue 55. It was the Time for Cataclysm. Now, if you read the Cataclysm trade for some reason, even New Printing basically had this problem where they only put like 3 pages of the issue. I'm like, really? Why the heck wouldn't you not put the whole freaking issue in there? I don't know. I thought it was quite strange. Though, I'll discuss more about Robin stuff later. So, then when his Red Robin series, this was actually when Red Robin was coming out, that was when I got into reading DC Comics. The book ended after only 26 issues, which I thought that was kind of weird. Now I was thinking, were they going to publish a new solo book for Tim Drake? Nope, he spent the next decade being confined to the Teen Titans. Actually, for the next 5 years he was. And they changed his costume, where he apparently now has the ability to fly. Also, when they also changed his freaking backstory, where he's a workaholic, and apparently also in the current continuity, he was always Red Robin, not Robin. Which, from what I've heard, ticked off a lot of people. And this was Lobdell doing this. Though when they published Sig Origins issue for Tim Drake, I've read it. It looks like a freaking it's like an abridged reprint of Teen Titans #0, which yeah, I wasn't really a big fan of Teen Titans #0. I like the original backstory better. So they kind of brought it's semi-canon currently, thanks to Batman Eternal. Now, what did Tim Drake was up to during Teen Titans? No, well, he was in the book for pretty much the first volume for the 252 run and the second volume. The current volume, nowhere in the volume at all. Though Tim Drake's costume never would change. Basically, it's like a belt buckle type of thing with wings by a character like Harvest. Yeah, if you want to basically check out exactly what he was up to during the Scott Lobdell run, read it. It's better to explain it because this was a strange run. And even thinking back at now, I would say definitely Will Pfeiffer had a better handle on the Teen Titans than Scott Lobdell did. Though I didn't discuss much about his Teen Titans run with Lobdell. The only thing I did discuss with him was the abrupt ending of Will Pfeiffer's run. Even he agreed that the ending was very abrupt and didn't feel it was properly concluded. Not really, no. Though that volume, in my opinion, had a real big problem with it. No base for the Teen Titans. Though eventually Tim Drake basically got a lot better in the pages of James Tynion's run for Detective Comics, which this was a fantastic run. No denying that. He pretty much became sort of a recruiter for Batman's team of vigilantes, referred to as the Gotham Knights or the Batmen. They never had an official name in the book. Basically, the group was comprised of Batman, Batwoman, excuse me, Batman, Batwoman, Clayface, Orphan, Spoiler, and Tim Drake, aka Red Robin. Before this, they had brought back Stephanie Brown in the pages of Batman Eternal, which Tim Drake did not play a role in that one. He did play a role in Batman and Robin Eternal, which that was really good. Not much of a role anyways, like I think of, no. Batman Eternal will be a great series, and anybody who reads it can basically agree that of the 3 weekly series published at that point, which was also New 52 Futures End and Earth 2 World's End, this one by far was the best one. It had great writing in all 52 issues. But it did have one problem. Inconsistent artwork. Tim Drake didn't really do much I can think of in the actual main book itself. Though he did play a big role in Batman Eternal, which only had 2 major plot threads going on with it, unlike in the case of Batman Eternal, which had a whole bunch of plot threads. Also, it had more than 2 writers with it. Batman Robin Eternal had only 2 writers, Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV, and that was it. And Tony S. Daniel, from what I can tell, he did all the covers for Batman Eternal, and he did a handful of the issues. I'd say about half of the actual run itself. And this run basically helps set up basically what happened in the pages of Detective Comics. Now, in that book itself, now after the first Stork, which apparently had the death of Tim Drake, the apparent death, he was put in some prison someplace. They kind of explained this basically when he came back in Lonely Place of Dying. And apparently, get this, in the same prison, apparently Doomsday was here. Yes. Where he ran into, get this, when he was in this prison, he ran into himself from Titans of Tomorrow. Yes. The Jeff Johns run. Like, okay. Yeah, I thought this was so cool. Though when he came back, it was Lonely Place of Living, which was a great nod to the original story. Heck, the first issue cover was basically a homage to the first issue when Tim Drake became Rob for the first time, though unofficially, of course. Though in book, he was dead for about a year. Though it came back, though he wasn't really dead. The readers knew he wasn't dead. It's just he was when he was written, he was dead. Though I'm glad the fact Tinian didn't basically bring it back like right away within like a month or two. I mean, they slowly built his return. And then like gnawing out this return, his group had to shut down due to stuff related to Clayface. Though I gotta admit, the Gotham Knights program was actually a really neat idea. I mean, they added like 2 people to the group. They added Batwing, who was Luke Fox, and they added Azrael, which I thought that was really cool. They did have Harper Row show up in the book. Once. Yes, once. They had Harper Row show up. She did actually show up in... Actually, just recently she showed up. I think it was... Wasn't it Batman? No, I think it was Detective Comics show up. I think it was a book just recently. She just showed up in. And it was the first appearance of years. Harper Row, great character. Sad that Scott Snyder kind of retired the character when he finished up his run for Batman. Actually, it was in Batman Eternal. Yep. Eventually, after this book, after Tiny wrapped this run, Tim Drake was moved over to Young Justice, which he still is this very day. Though, when the book started, he was basically back in his classic costume from the 90s, calling himself Robin, and then, of course, when he left the book, when Tim ran his run, he had to have him drive off with Steph Brown, basically was from happy ending, though they bring him back in the pages of Young Justice, where he was Robin at first, and now he's just Drake for some reason. Don't know why, but that's basically what it is. Also, they actually ended the book of Young Justice recently, after 20 issues. The book itself was written by Brian Michael Bendis, which I'd say of the books he wrote, I mean, yeah, people do criticize him for Superman, but no denying, Young Justice and Legion of Superheroes are really damn good. Yep. But no denying the fact that Tim Drake is a fantastic Robin. And when I got on DC Comics, I mean, my friend Tivia is a big fan of the Tim Drake Robin stuff. I wasn't reading at that point. I did jump on in 2010, so at the time it was Damian Wayne basically being Robin, which I like the stuff that some of the stuff basically he was involved with. Now, in the case of Tim Drake, basically aside from having a slow comic book in the 90s, he was involved with 2 group books prior to the New 52 relaunch. First, it was the original Young Justice group book written by Peter David for 55 issues. Pretty decent book from what I can tell. Comprised of himself, Superboy, Wonder Girl, this was Scanner Sandbark, who, this I thought was really interesting. There was actually one issue where Superboy actually peeped on Wonder Girl in the shower. Yeah, Tim Drake could do that. Nope, he didn't do that. They also had Secret, basically a lot of teenage superheroes. Though the book was abruptly canceled due to low sales, believe it or not. Then came the Titans / Young Justice graduation storyline, which even I agreed, the book was pretty bad. Though it did lead to a really good run under Teen Titans. First by Jeff Johns, who pretty much wrote half the series. Yes, this was the run that lasted the longest. Out of all the lines for Teen Titans, this one lasted the longest. 100 issues. Had him, Adam Beechin, JT Kroll, And Tim Drake was on the book for pretty much the first 60 issues, though there was one important issue I should point out, though, where he had a fight with Jason Todd after he came back as Red Hood. That was collected in the main D9's book, though not in, let's say, Under Red Hood, which I thought would be interesting to put it there. After he left, he was gone for years, and he came back toward the end of the book, replacing Tim Drake, not Tim Drake, Damian Wayne, who briefly stepped in, and they came back, and he was there up until the final issue of the run. Now, as for the trade paperback stuff related to Tim Drake, now, as Robin, first 3 volumes, now there's new printing out, where they released only 5 books. And guess what's in them? The first 3 volumes, and the first, 30 issues of Robin Volume 4. Yeah, for some reason they decided to stop. I'm not really sure why, but they did. It's quite weird of how they did it. Okay, so in 5 volumes, they only collected the first 22 issues. Yes. In the first volume, they collected Batman 455 to 457. Well, Detective Comics 618 to 221, and Robin, the first volume. They collect the second and third volume, plus Batman 465, 466, and 469. And then third volume 3, they pretty much start collecting the Robin series, where by volume 5, it's only the first 22 issues. And as far as I can tell, they haven't published any more of this for some reason. While in the case of Nightwing, they published a new volume. The last volume for new printing for Robin came out 2 years ago. Yes. I kind of wish they would finish, because there's still a lot more related to the Tim Drake stuff they should collect. While Nightwing, they finally started Devin Grace's run. Tim Drake's run, Robin, on the other hand, was not finished. Yeah, there's actually still a lot of this particular run that actually is not in trade. Because the original run, believe it or not, well, when they first started collecting the series in trade, they just collected, get this, well, this is the original printing of it, the first 4 issues, and they skipped straight to 120 and 125, and then they went from 132 and they went straight to 183. Like, really? That's it? You don't collect anything else? Now, they had other issues collected in crossover trades. Yes, crossover trades like Nightfall, Prodigal, Legion. Basically, all crossover trades. Yeah, that's where they pretty much collected them. And I kind of figured they would finish, but nope, they haven't yet. Nightwing gets more, but not Robin for some reason. Yep, not Robin. Not Robin. Not Tim Drake for some reason. I don't know why. Yes, I know for a lot of people he's very popular. Me, I definitely think he's a cool character. He's my basically of the Robins. I consider him a lot more interesting. Let's say Jason Todd, definitely. But not much else to say with Tim Drake. Great character. Highly recommend check out his books. Basically, he's had, which he hasn't had his own solo book published since 2011. Yeah, it's been that long. I mean, what exactly has he done for the past 9 years? Teen Titans, Detective Comics, Young Justice. That's it. That's mainly all he has done. He's made guest appearances in our books, but these are the main books he appeared in. Yep. But not much else to say. Good there. So that's it for this particular review. Next episode we'll discuss Damian Wayne. Unlike Tim Drake, where there was a good amount to talk about for him, not a lot to talk about when it comes to Damian Wayne. I mean, he's lived around for 14 years. Unlike in the case of Tim Drake, he's been around for, let's see, how long he's been around for? I mean, his first appearance was back in 1989. Yep, 1989. So he's been around for a good, 30 years. A long time. Yeah. But for Damian first, it took him 3 years after his debut to become Robin. Tim Drake, it took a year at most. for him to become Robin, not 3 freaking years. Or like in the case of Dick Grayson, basically his first appearance, Jason Todd took a bit of a while, but I don't think it was particularly too long. Yep. So yeah, so that's it for single view, and it's probably gonna be a video today. Tomorrow, a lot of videos coming tomorrow. Okay, this next video. Bye.